Everybody, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance first. Director Garcia, please lead.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So next up, we have roll call. Commissioner Delegoski.
Present.
Commissioner Garcia.
Present.
Commissioner Grace.
Here.
Commissioner Haskins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson is present. Commissioner Kahn. Commissioner McCann.
Present.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Present.
And Commissioner Van Noort. Great. So approval of the minutes from our May 13th meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, great. Passes unanimously. Next up, we have old business, aquatics partnership policy.
Okay, you want a staff presentation first? Okay, I'm going to have Carrie Swartz as our aquatic supervisor. She'll come up and give a brief summary of the policy. As she's presenting, I want to encourage the commission to be open-minded about what is a very large change in the framework of what is the partnership policy. The subcommittee worked for quite a bit of time on this, as you guys know, and did communicate with the partner groups, and staff have met with the partner groups. So I will let Carrie go into the details of what that looks like. But feel free to ask questions if there are any. But do keep in mind it's a change and a diversion. But staff believe that it is it could be a very progressive way of managing our partners, as well as monitoring participation and residency as well. So I will let Carrie take it away.
All right. Good evening, commissioners. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the purpose of the Youth Aquatic Partnership Program and then summarize the proposed revisions. So the purpose of the partnerships is to provide an equitable means of sharing a finite amount of pool space across a diverse range of aquatic services and programs, to provide San Clemente residents with access to aquatic competitive sports opportunities. Because the city doesn't have the resources to directly operate year-round club swim and water polo programs, the city partners with qualified nonprofit organizations to provide those services on behalf of the community. These partnerships benefit both the organization and the city by expanding recreational opportunities for residents while allowing the city to leverage community expertise and resources. The other purpose of the partnerships is to align discounts with community benefit, and that's by recognizing the organizations with the higher San Clemente resident participation, consider organizational history and long-term investment in the community, and ensure discounts reflect public benefit. Next slide. The purpose of the partnership revisions is to modernize the existing policy, improve transparency, establish criteria for the partnership eligibility and facility use discounts. Right now, our existing partnership policy was modeled after sports, which just isn't working for aquatic sports. Establish an objective criteria rather than subjective determinations, and move away from relying on exceptions to the policy. Right now, we have not had an organization meet the Tier 1 requirements without exceptions since 2018, so it hasn't been working for a while. Improve facility utilization tracking, continue supporting organizations that provide competitive aquatic opportunities for San Clemente youth, and the current policy no longer reflects operational realities and has required repeat exceptions to remain functional. Next slide. So before you, you'll see a table which will highlight the differences between our current policy and our proposed policy. So there's still 3 tier levels. The residency requirements have changed. Our current policy, Tier 1 is 88%, Tier 2 is 85%, and Tier 3 is 70%. And the proposed policy has residency requirements at 78% for Tier 1, 70% for Tier 2, and 60% for Tier 3. And again, that's because our current partners, times have changed. They're just not able to meet the 90 or the 88% residency like they were prior to 2018. Participant minimums have changed. The original policy require Tier 1 to have 300 participants, Tier 2 to have 200 participants, and Tier 3 to have 100 participants. The new proposed policy has no minimum participation requirement for tier eligibility, and again, that's with current trends. Since 2018, it's been challenging for the user groups to maintain that 300 or even hit it, and it was disproportionate for any discipline like water polo. If we had a diving club or a artistic swimming club that wanted to be a partner, those clubs are never going to hit 300. So it's a little bit disproportional, and this fixes that. Participant minimums, or the amount of participants, will still be taken into consideration when allocating pool space. The original rental history, the current policy, and the proposed policy, there's no edits to that. So Tier 1, the group would be operating and implementing and renting pool space for at least 5 years. For Tier 2, 3 years, and Tier 3 for 2 years. The subcommittee did talk about an exception for water polo for this year. At the end of the year, I believe they hit their 5-year mark, so they're really close. They did participate, or they were a partner previously. They just had a lapse in consecutive renting. The discount structure for the current policy, Tier 1 is a 60%, Tier 2 is 55%, and Tier 3 is 40%. The proposed policy reduces the discount to align because the residency requirements were lowered. So Tier 1 is at a 55% discount, Tier 2 is at a 50% discount, and Tier 3 is at a 35% discount. The verification method, the current policy, we rely on annual roster submission. The new proposed policy, because it would be swipe-based, we'd still require the annual rosters, specifically so that if we have a group that isn't solely using our pools, we have an idea of what their organizational makeup still is, as far as their residency requirements to fall in what tier they align with. But we can also use the tracking data from the swipes. And then the billing method, the current policy is partners are billed through the permit per lane per hour. This is where we've modernized it, and the new billing method would be swipe-based billing for regular practices, and then permit billing retained for all other use. So if they have a tournament, if they want to use the grass event space, anything like that, they'd still receive the discount, but they'd just be given the standard permit through the standard process that they use right now. And then the tier eligibility, the current policy was years plus residency percentage plus the participant count, and the new proposed policy just is based off of years and residency percentage. And then staff believes that the proposed policy strikes a balance between supporting the aquatic partnership organizations and ensuring the responsible stewardship of limited aquatic facilities. The recommendation before the commission is to consider forwarding this proposal to City Council as a 1-year pilot program. Do you guys have any questions I can answer for you?
Can you tell us about the dollar amounts, how much it is per swimmer per day?
For what our policy, what the proposed policy would be?
Right.
So it would be based off of our daily use fees that we have right now with our fee schedule, and they would receive a 55, 50, or 35% discount depending on what they qualify for.
The dollar figures are going to be in Appendix A of the draft policy. I think it's page 35 of your agenda.
So it would be $1.80 per day per swimmer for a resident, and whatever 45% of $9 is for a non-resident?
It would be $4.71 for a non-resident per day.
Thank you, Samantha. I don't have it in front of me, I apologize.
Okay, but the math doesn't seem right. It's 45% of 9?
It's
Like $4.
It's a
55%.
Yeah, it's a 55% discount for Tier 1, not 45%.
Okay. All right, I'm a little confused on the math. Okay, I understand that point. And then one other thing is that I noticed in the new proposed policy that when you increase the number of non-residents and you go below the 78% threshold, and go from tier 1 to tier 2, the discount decreases, meaning the cost increases for not only the non-residents, but also the residents. Was that the intent?
Yes, so if you're tier 1, you get a 55% discount. If you're tier 2, the cost would increase 5% because you only get a 50% discount.
That's the piece that doesn't make sense to me, is that you're charging residents more because there's more non-residents on the team.
We're not charging them more. They are getting a discount off of the
It's still
resident drop-in rate, the resident youth drop-in rate, which is already lower than the non-resident rate, so they're getting a further discount off of that
They're
rate.
just decreasing their discount because there's more
Well,
non-residents.
so I could explain. So right now, people aren't qualifying for that tier 1, is that correct?
Yes, none of our current partners qualify for tier 1
So
status. They
this
barely
might allow-
qualify for tier.
Might allow them to qualify now, which means that they could pay the same or less.
I understand that, I just want to know what happens when they go from tier 1 to tier 2.
Their discount would go down then, so they, instead of a 55% discount, they would get a 50% discount.
So I think something to keep in mind, aside from, yes, the discount changes depending on what tier you land in, but we're not charging the participants. We're charging the organization their build, and then they charge their participants. We're not charging their participants directly.
But if the total cost to the team goes up, then the cost to all participants will go up.
Depending on how they do their pricing. That's up to
Okay, all
the
right,
individual
I think I
organizations.
understand it.
Yeah, it's an 18-cent increase in the difference of the discount for the resident.
Okay. All right, that's just the part that I'm trying to figure how that's fair to increase the price for for residents because we exceeded the threshold for non-residents.
So keep in mind, I'm not growing more pool space, right? I'm not growing any more lanes. I have a finite amount of lanes. And it's not just the partners that are using the lanes. I have other stakeholders too, right? I have the contract instructors, I have the city programming, and I have the lap swimmers. Lap swimmers are probably the ones that get underrepresented because they're not unified, right? So I only hear from one here, one there. It's not a group coming. But keep in mind, the more we partner with an organization, the higher their non-resident rate, they're still going to require pool space. They're getting pool space over that resident lap swimmer, over the swimming lessons. They're using space. I'm gonna have to play Tetris to give everybody a little bit of space.
Right.
So the reason it's tiered is so that the subsidy that the city is giving an organization is tied to their number of residents. That has not changed from the current policy.
Percentage of residents.
Correct.
And then there was another piece where it went from, I'm sorry, I'm asking you so many questions, but when it goes from, if you're using 50% of the pool, it's this rate, but if you use more than 50% of the pool, it doubles, the cost
Correct.
doubles. So if you use 8 lanes, it's this rate, but if you use 9 lanes, it's double
Yes.
for everybody?
Yes. So you're instead of being charged per lane, you're charged on the amount of pool space that's being subsidized.
Okay.
With
It
this
just
current
seems like-
swipe system, keep in mind it has to look different. Our software isn't gonna let me charge something different for like long course or a full pool versus 1 lane. So we had to find a new modernized way to differentiate what's fair for the other stakeholders. Like, so if you're using more lanes, that's how we were able to do it with the current system.
But you
Because I
have
don't have
more-
a way with once we do the swipe, I can't charge you in the morning for a long course and then charge you a different rate when you swipe in the afternoon.
But you get more money because there's more swimmers.
Yes, well, depending on how many people they put in a lane.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I missed out on part of the discussion between the partners and the staff.
I had a point of clarification. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just had a point of clarification.
When we're talking about I believe there are 3 policies we're referring to. There's the original policy from 2018 that is not depicted in this graph.
Correct.
That was really far off the mark.
That was really, it was, the original document, tier 1 was at 90% residency.
Right.
And it only had 2 levels. It had a senior and a junior.
Yes.
So when the current policy was adopted, we lowered the threshold to 88% and then added a middle tier, that second tier, and that was meant to kind of be a softer landing. So if an organization missed the mark for tier 1, they didn't fall all the way down from a 60% discount to a 40% discount. That's a far drop. So we were trying to find a middle ground where if you didn't make that top tier, there was a softer landing. And that policy was adopted by council, so that's our current policy.
Yes, so I think it's an important point to make that this proposed policy is an enhancement to the current policy, and it's a departure in the way that we're billing, yet it is dramatically better than the policy that was in place in 2018.
Yes, we're slowly improving. There's a learning curve, but we're slowly improving. The original policy definitely wasn't fitting our team, so we tried to adjust it a little bit, like I said, to have that softer middle tier where you're not going to completely lose your subsidy, or not completely, but 60% discount to a 40% discount is kind of a big jump. The issue with the current policy and the original policy is they're modeled after our sports partnership policy. And land sports and aquatic sports are not created equal, and it's really not working for our current partnerships with water polo or the swim team. Like, they're just not, we've been giving exceptions since 2018 because it's not attainable. They can't land tier 1 without us giving them an exception, or without commission and then council approving an exception. So the idea behind the new modernized proposed policy is that we find a policy that has a little bit of flexibility, a new way of looking at it that isn't directly modeling the sports model, that makes it attainable for our user groups so that they're not constantly asking for exceptions, and we actually have a policy we can follow.
Okay, great. I have a question. What's the percentage of the groups that are using the pool roughly fall into these 3 categories of the tier 1, 2, and 3?
So right now, the last time I got roster information was at the end of 2024. Based on that, I know that their numbers have changed a little bit currently, but right now, both of our partners in the current policy would fall into tier 2. They're both currently tier 1 on an exception. Both organizations have an exception. We have 2 current partners in aquatics. The policy is also written so that if we got any additional partners with any other competitive sport like diving or artistic swimming, it would fit aquatic sports in a whole. But right now, at the current policy, they would land tier 2. I haven't reviewed rosters, but I believe with the proposed policy, both users would land in tier 1.
And are the swimmers that are not San Clemente residents, do they come from towns that don't have swimming pools, or are these organizations designed such that they cast a
Sorry, I'm having a
net?
hard time hearing you.
Sorry.
I think it varies.
For the swimmers that are not residents of San Clemente, do they come from adjacent cities that don't have pools, or are these organizations designed such that they draw from a large area of Orange County? Or?
I believe a lot of them are coming from areas that don't have pools for different reasons. Both organizations have been really good partners, and they definitely support the city. Every time I've let them know that we have a hiring fair, they push it out to their groups, and they're sending us kids that are trying out they've been a resource for lifeguarding 100%. The swim team donated, they gave a sizable donation for the scoreboard, and both organizations have told me they do not actively recruit anywhere except for St. Clemente. So you have things like, I know water polo gets kids because they have school of choice with the high school. You have kids that are coming from from areas that don't have swim teams. All of them are pretty local. They're not coming from very far away. So it's neighboring Orange County cities predominantly. For water polo, for example, I know it's challenging because you have to have 10 kids to make a team. So if they don't take some of those kids, there's a chance they might not make the team. And the swim team has had similar issues where they're recruiting in San Clemente. They're just getting additional kids they're looking for a swim team. I do think that the swim team's done a really good job. Well, to be fair, both organizations have done a really good job with their coaching and their organization as a whole. And I think sometimes it's just somebody's looking for a really good team to be on and they're picking the best team over maybe, if they're in Mission Viejo, for example, and their Mission Viejo Matadors is huge, right, for swimming. If you're not that top swimmer, you're gonna get a lot more like individualized coaching on a slightly smaller team. You're gonna get a lot more attention and training than you are on a really large team. But to answer your question, I don't think either of our partners are actively recruiting in other areas. I think it's just they're pulling close kids that are looking for a home team.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll hear from the speakers.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So first up, we have Anissa Bromley.
Hi, and thank you for your openness to revisit the policy. And in the spirit of partnership, we're open to trying this whole new method, but we think the current draft contains some areas that we think present unnecessary risk, uncertainty, and administrative burden that we'd love clarified. At its core, the policy is about partnership, and stability benefits both sides. It's reliable utilization for the city and reliable access for us. And we talk about cost a lot, but it's as much, if not more, about losing access to the pool when you drop down a tier. So there's a few concerns. One is practicality of the new process. Youth sports are inherently dynamic with volunteers, young kids and coaches, illnesses, shifting school events, and constantly evolving rosters. As written in the policy, ordinary situations can be treated as violations or exclusionary factors, risking partnership status, which impact cost and access. And those are program-altering consequences if you get bumped out of the pool. And as nonprofits, we're just not staffed to manage that extra administration. We talked about residency, and it was acknowledged that Tier 1 has been unattainable. In the process, I did a complete review of California municipal policies, and a 75% resident majority stands out as the highest end. And that is a sustainable and reasonable high long-term benchmark versus an occasional good year. So we're requesting a 75% benchmark, especially as a roster-dependent team sport, which Carrie talked about a little bit. Higher percentages don't create greater resident benefit. They create greater risk because they're harder to achieve. Unlike individual sports like swim, we need a full roster to exist. And if a team is lost, it can't easily be recreated. Someone asked, our residency does kind of follow with the Capo open enrollment. These are kids from like Dana or San Juan or Capo Beach that are going and competing for San Clemente High School. In the off season, they're competing with the club. We are not recruiting out of the city. And as kids age, keeping teams whole is increasingly difficult, especially on the girls' side. And that is a nationwide problem for our sport. It's very well documented. Under the current framework, a program with 100% residency and two participants could technically bump us from pool space. So we have this decades-old program. If we're at 75% hypothetically residency, servicing over 150 kids, a new program with two can bump us.
Okay. Well, okay, thank you very much for your comments. Next up, we have Amanda P. Bawonka.
Bawonka, yep.
Thanks.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for your time. to wear my glasses on and off, so sorry. My name is Amanda Blanca. I am the current president of San Clemente Aquatics team, the swim team. And we are, glad to be here, and we have been reviewing the policy. I was going to go over these points. I think I'm going to defer from it a little bit just because I wanted to answer some of the questions. If we include our residents, our non-residents are actually from our neighboring cities. They are Dana Point, Cabo Beach, and San Juan for the majority of them. They obviously don't have pool space and they have nowhere else to go other than someone had mentioned Mission Viejo, Natadores, and Soca, which is at J. Sarah. Those are the other closest. We are way more competitive than Soca is. We're not as big as Mission Viejo, Natadores, obviously, so we can't quite compete there. But we are bigger, and Soca is falling apart a little bit, and their people are coming to us, which I'm like, no more non-residents, please. But we are taking them, because it would kind of be unethical for us not to take those kids, and they were looking for a great team, and I would say we are a great team. We are always in the top finals. We are competing against the Natadores. We actually can beat some of their swimmers, so we're doing really well. We have about 380, well, this is 2025, we had about 388 swimmers that came from San Clemente, and we had about 70 that did not. So it was about an 81% residency rate. So while we strive, we don't even advertise at Shore Cliffs because most of those kids are Capo Beach as well. So we try to find ways of only staying within San Clemente. But unfortunately, we are also a good team, and people want that size team. So the things that we're asking for, we are open to the 1 year. Obviously, we qualified for the top tier under the new revised policy, but we also don't want to have to revisit this all the time. So we're open to looking at it for the 1 year. It's not about the money, as Anissa said. It's about making sure we get the priority. We're a big team, and we need the pool space in order to practice. And so we don't want to be bumped down because then we're like third or fourth in line, and we want to keep that kind of priority. But we do want to, so we're open to it, but we do want to make sure that it's feasible and it makes sense, and we're not there was some things in the policy that were violations, and we want to make sure that those are clear because they were somewhat unclear today on what could be a violation. I think Samantha had done a very good job of already we've done some edits to that to take out things that we a kid doesn't swipe, I can't control that. A lot of ours are little too, so we need to kind of find that balance between we want to be abiding by the policy, but I also don't want to be written up every 2 seconds because we didn't actually understand the ramifications of those things. And then there are a couple of things in there that are 14-day cancellations, 10-minute seizing of the lanes, things like that that just seem really harsh, and I think we can find a better way to go about that. But ultimately, I'd like us to, do this for a year, see what it is, but pick a percentage that we're not revisiting this every year and worrying about it actually meeting, that residency rate. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Amanda Quintanilla.
Great to see another Amanda here today. I just wasn't prepared to speak today, but as a mother of a former swimmer in the past, it's really difficult when when swim programs lack the attendance, lack the membership, lack the swimmers. And I know in the past, I had to take my son to Dana Hills High School to swim, and as a single parent who is an RN, was very difficult to get someone to do that, whether I had to hire a CNA or an LVN or someone that I could trust to take him there to swim classes. So I appreciate a person who spoke previously saying that she did her due diligence and basically looking at other cities and what their programs were to have a 75% attendance or residency requirement. And I think that's really very beneficial that someone was able to do their homework, to do that research. And I would really consider decreasing the tier 1 to 75% and having a better discount for them as well. But I really think that it's important to embrace our future swimmers, our athletes, or Olympic athletes, and I think it's really important to promote that well-being and that camaraderie with that teamwork. And I think it's really important to support our children. And thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. All right, so I'll open it up for discussion. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, no, I have questions, yeah. So, one of the questions, I really appreciate the comments that were brought up. I think that we're all looking for something that works for all members, and I agree. I think we need something that works and we don't have to keep revisiting. So in the spirit of that, I'm wondering a few things. One, I'm wondering if we could set a minimum number, just that comment about like, well, 2 people could make that percentage. I'm like, yeah, and a percentage sways on a large, or on a small number even more. So the variability of that could limit pool space without us intending it to. So if there was some sort of just like 50-person minimum or something that's really, not something that's unattainable, but something that would protect the pool access for our partners, I think would be something to maybe consider. And then I was wondering if we could have a policy for, or not a policy, but a practice for the first year of the policy, if we are going to do a pilot, that we document the violations but don't necessarily enact the punitive measures yet as part of the pilot, just to see, okay, here's what's happening, and identifying the pain point. Is the pain point because we need to change our communication or our practices, but something so that it doesn't just come straight down when we're still trying to figure out if it works.
Would you like me to respond?
Yes, somebody.
So the first element I heard was putting a minimum for qualification. I'm okay with that. I do want you to bear in mind, though, in the very off chance an organization is renting for us for 5 years with 2 swimmers, and they now qualify for Tier 1, keep in mind they only have 2 swimmers. So the likelihood of them getting any more than 1 lane is slim to none. And again, when we start to work in hypothetical scenarios, that's really not realistic. You know, maybe artistic swimming could come in and they have 8 swimmers, but if all 8 of their swimmers are San Clemente residents, that's benefiting San Clemente residents. And we're looking at a policy that is really subsidy driven. So we should be subsidizing for groups that are more likely to serve San Clemente residents at a higher percentage. That's the goal of the partnership policy. That said, if you want to put in some guardrails that say you have to have a minimum of 25 participants or whatever that number is, I'm open to that, but bear in mind, part of this issue has been we can't reach minimums at times. So this will start to feel like we're constantly chasing our tail, trying to keep up with the next issue that might arise. So fine with minimums, but those are some factors you want to take into consideration. The pilot option and enforcement. I think the couple things, Amanda hit on the 14-day cancellation. That needs to be removed. I'm not even sure why that's in there. So that would be struck. That's actually a rollover from a field element. Violations, though, are really intended to address repeated non-compliance. Staff, and we do our very best to give friendly reminders. Hey, another warning. You guys are using lanes that you weren't allocated for. Hey, this is another warning. Hey, another warning. And at some point, we can't keep giving warnings because we need the behavior to change. And the only time historically that we've seen behaviors change is by doing a write-up, or it's a strike against their partnership, or there's a fee attached. And I don't mean that against any particular organization. That's the only way we're able to get compliance. So that we do our best to give second chances and third chances and fourth chances, but we do want to make sure that when we're putting a policy and an agreement in place, that we enforce it. Otherwise, we've all wasted our time in that effort. So bear that in mind as well. Our approach is always to mitigate and diffuse the situation and hopefully correct it without a next step.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Haskins.
Yeah, I think it's a good new policy. I like the swipe and the accountability and getting data from that. I know it's going to be a little difficult when the teams first start doing it. The only piece of it that I'm really having a hard time with is I go in the afternoons and the swim team has 8 lanes, and sometimes, yeah, the deep end has water polo, or they have lifeguard training, or they have swim lessons, but other times they're squeezed into 8 lanes, and there's 4 or 5 lap swimmers for the entire rest of the pool. And I'm just thinking that it would be good if that, instead of keeping them squeezed into 8 lanes, if they could go to 9 or 10 or 11 or whatever seemed reasonable without doubling the cost because of this 50% threshold for if you use more than 50% of the pool, you pay double per person. So that's the only piece that I would want to consider changing. And, not that they spread out and they've got 1 kid in a lane, but we have these minimums of 3 to 6 per lane already, so that solves that problem. But I understand if they're renting the entire pool, we're gonna charge them more, and this whole policy wouldn't even have effect, but I really would like to increase that percentage from 50 to maybe, if there's 17 lanes, I think they could very easily use 10 or 11, depending on what's happening in the rest of the pool at the discretion of the staff on site at that time. Do you have any comment on
Yeah,
that?
so you hit on the increased cost if there's more lanes. I'm okay removing that, that's fine, you can take that out of the policy. Allocation-wise, and this is oftentimes hard to convey and it's hard to live in staff shoes. What you might be seeing when you walk on deck is a handful of lanes that are empty. It's because there's another program that's gonna start in 30 minutes, and there could have been a chance that we offered those lanes and they were declined. I want to assure the commission that staff we do our very best to make sure every single lane is maximized and used to the fullest potential. And if there's an opportunity and there's a repeat group that's not showing up on time, that is part of the enforcement, that you're not releasing your lanes and they're sitting empty. And that's when we say, we're going to have to take these lanes back because of demonstrated inability to not show up and not release your lanes. I would say, without getting too much into the allocation process, which is not this policy per se and how we do the pool, we will always take a good look at how we can maximize our allocation. The very first thing, I don't know if it's in the policy, the first priority when we allocate is city use, which would be our contract instructors and our city operating swim programs. So those are the first. And then we get into our partner groups, get that second level of rental opportunity, and then below that is our frequent renters. So if you're seeing a lane that's open, it could be in a transition or flex into another program, but we can look at it for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm not suggesting changing the allocation. The allocation would still stay the same. Doesn't guarantee them those extra lanes, but if those extra lanes are available, it would allow them to use them at staff's discretion without triggering a doubling in cost.
Yes, and that piece we can certainly remove from the policy if that's the desire of the commission.
That would be
That's
my
okay.
recommendation, is just to
Okay.
remove that 50% threshold. Otherwise, I'm good with the policy.
Does anyone else have anything that they want to see removed or whatnot? Because what I'm thinking is, it's a 1 year, I want to ultimately make a motion to accept and approve this policy, take it to council, see if it's approved for a 1 year pilot program. And I'd love to have quarterly meetings with the partners and see hey, what are the violations like? What are the, allocations like? Be checking in so that at the end of that 1 year program, we can come together again and say, okay, this needs to change or this needs tweaking or let's add in this and go from there. That's kind of my goal, just because too, Commissioner McCain and I, we did this first one, the current policy, and then we had, the fee study come out and the fee changes, and I think what we have now in front of us is sustainable with a little bit of tweaking, but I think we're not entirely sure what needs to be tweaked yet, and so we put it into practice. So, if anyone has anything else that they want added or removed, other than what?
I think we identified the 2 things. We wanted the 14-day penalty removed and then the 50% double cost.
I have one note on that.
Yes.
I will say that expanded rental allocation will likely stay because there's a long course configuration and long course lanes are more expensive to rent. So that's when the expanded allocation fee would come in, and we could rename it to a 25-yard rental and a 50-meter lane rental, if that is okay?
Yeah, so just to remove it when you're doing a 25-yard.
Yes, so that 50% would be removed, but we would still have a long course percentage, or a long course per swimmer fee.
Okay. Can you articulate a motion?
Okay.
What's in mind?
All right. Okay. I make a motion to accept the proposed aquatics partnership policy and take it to council to be approved with the removal of the 14-day violation.
So it's section 5.7.5.
With the removal of section 5.7.5 and the clarification of the 25-yard and 50-yard rentals.
Great, do I have a second?
Second that.
Okay, great, second. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstaining or nay? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you very much, everyone. Next up, we have new business. Item 3A, the Victoria Sidewalk Widening Conceptual Design. Report by engineering staff.
Good evening, Commissioners. Sean Ryan, Deputy Public Works Director. Here to present the conceptual design for the Victoria Sidewalk Project. Before I do a lot to unpack here, before I get too far into it, this is budgeted for the next cycle, and it's broken into 2 phases. The first, which of phase 1 will consist of the Victoria Sidewalk maintenance project. Could you go to the next slide? Yes. So phase 1 is the maintenance of the sidewalk and tunnel wing walls, which those are the walls leading down to the tunnel. And then phase 2 consists of repairs to the tunnel itself and the soffit above the concrete near the track level. But today's more specifically for the Victoria Sidewalk Widening Project. Just real quick, so this project proposes to, at the right there at the where the trolley stop is, we're going to widen the sidewalk. It's about 8 feet of additional width and about total of 275 square feet of new sidewalk. And patching the wing walls that are leading down to the tunnel, some landscaping improvements, improvements to the cap along those walls. And so why are we doing this? And the big reason is generally is safety concerns. I don't know if you've been out there. If you get close to the edge of that walkway, it drops off. It's a good 10 to 12 inch, just you could step right off, and then it's a slope down. So if anybody steps backwards while they're standing there, they could get seriously injured. So we have big concerns about that. The other is when at times both trolleys. It's not all the time, but sometimes both trolleys will end up, will arrive at that station at the same time, and you also have the train unloading. So there's a large amount of people moving around in that space at any one time, and by adding this additional space for sidewalk space will allow the public and patrons to be able to move more freely along this path. So another issue that is kind of ongoing is the maintenance issue of the slope. As I mentioned, at the back of the walk there, where it drops off, there's a slope that runs down, and it's eroding. In fact, it's kind of eroding it's undermining the sidewalk at this location. So this new system that we're proposing is sort of like the sidewalk. You can think of it as a sidewalk with a large deepened footing on the ocean side, and I'll show you a picture of that here in 1 second. But that deepened footing, another term for it, it's a grade beam, and that will help will help mitigate some of the erosion conditions that are happening out there. Let's see, the trolley, what I want to say, the trolley system adds so much value to the landscape of the Pureblue area and its accessibility that making it safer for the public, it would be a great addition to this area. Can I jump to another slide here? So we can see here a couple of shots here. The one on the left shows where it's undermining the sidewalk slightly there, and you can see if somebody, when you're standing on that edge, when it's crowded, if you step off of there, you potentially could seriously injure yourself. The middle slide, some of this landscape right in the front that you see on the far right photograph is actually the middle photograph, and so these are basically bushes that are kind of overgrown, and so those would be removed as a part of this project to widen the sidewalk. Can I have the next slide, please? This is a rendering of what it looks like as you come down the stairs, and you can see, so the trolley stop is just on the other side of that railing. And the rendering isn't exactly the rendering came long before the plans that were attached to the agenda report, but it's pretty close to what the end result will be. Next slide, please. Here's another rendering of what it will look like. You can kind of see the before and after. A huge improvement, a lot of added space, much safer for the public when they're getting on and off the trolleys there. So this project, like I said, it's broken into two phases. It was budgeted for this new budget cycle. It's a $450,000 budget, and that's it. So the first phase, being the Victoria Sidewalk project, it's somewhere in the range of around $200,000 to do it all. That's in hard costs and soft costs, and phase two would encompass it'd be around $200,000 as well. The timeline for the sidewalk widening project is about 2 months. With that, I'll leave it. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer. And one more slide. Oh, yeah, so let's talk about this real quick before we get to the questions. So you can kind of see, here's a plan view on the left, and you can see where those each of those pilasters are. That's the new extension of where the sidewalk will terminate, and on the left you can kind of see it's like I said, it's kind of like a sidewalk with a deepened footing there, and so the large piece of concrete on is a grade beam, and then the sidewalk, it's like one continuous piece, but the sidewalk attaches to that grade beam, and you have the helical pile that is not in the column, but you can see there's 1, 4, 5 helical piles that they're proposing. Yeah, I think that's it. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
I remember when this was first designed, initially it was in coordination with the street, and there were pavers placed. They kind of go from this location across the street to the Pier Market. So there's a crosswalk, and initially there was a stop sign, but at some point they decided that the stop sign wasn't in a legal location relative to the crosswalk, so they took the stop sign out. So now there's no stop sign when you pass this location. Is there a way to integrate or coordinate with, while you're doing this, to make it such that there's a crosswalk to cross that street that you could line up with the corners so that you can place a stop sign I'm just saying, because I've seen near misses because of no stop sign there and the crosswalk
Sure.
being there.
I couldn't, honestly, I can't say that it would be a part of this project, but we could certainly look at that, do a track. I know, our traffic division would need to do some analysis of the traffic flow around there to see if we could warrant something of that nature.
So as it exists, the trolley, it would be trolley parking directly out in front of this?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
How does this align with what the Peer Conservancy Group is doing? Because I know they're also trying to beautify the start of the pier there. Is this in addition to what they're doing, or are you working with them on that? Or how do they come into play?
This is in conjunction with them. They've committed to supporting this project financially and also contributing to some of the amenities. If there's a donation opportunity, they would contribute.
So
to
these
that.
plans are in alignment with what our group is looking at, and is there?
Yes.
It's not. We're not going rogue. One team's not going on rogue on the other, right?
Correct. This is a city project. It's being treated as a maintenance project.
Okay.
And we're looking to really fix what we see as a multimodal issue, really in that pinch point where the trolley drops off right at the top of the street right here, and it's a red curb currently. And if you've ever been down there when there's the red line and the green line and Metrolink, and they're all dropping off, and there's strollers and there's suitcases and there's surfboards and there's dogs, there's a lot, and e-bikes, there's a lot going on in that space. So the idea of adding a little bit more sidewalk to that area and protecting what is really a drop-off, as Sean showed in the picture, it just ends, that sidewalk just ends, and it poses some level of concern from a liability standpoint.
And just because I've seen a lot of chatter online about the trees and the concern about the removal of the trees, and is that part of the city project, or is that part of the Peer Conservancy Group, or where that falls in? And I know we had talked about kind of the design, but I just want to make sure that it's clear, like, what the Peer Conservancy Group is asking for versus what the city is going to do.
Sure, so again, as I summarized, it's a city project. If there's concerns about landscaping that the commission has this evening, this is a great opportunity to talk about that. And I'm sure we probably have some folks from the public that also have some comments to be heard as well, which is wonderful. That's the point of this public meeting. The BPR Commission, you are a Parks Commission. This is really in your wheelhouse. And we were hoping to get your guys' feedback on what is that landscaping. I know that there's a coral tree that's there, and it's an important tree, certainly. And if there's an opportunity to work with the commission and hear what our members of the public have to say, that's our job, right? We want to find some level of compromise. And if the focus, and I think it is really to look at the trolley stop in that whole area, the landscaping in that specific spot could certainly use a refresh. It's overgrown, it hasn't been super well maintained over the last several decades. So if that alone is taken care of, staff believe that's a great enhancement to their arrival of that space. And adding in a wrought iron fence also now complements the railings that are there. So I think it really puts a nice space together, even if that's the only focus. If you don't touch the coral tree and you leave all the other existing landscape up into the wall, that's okay too. I think from staff's side, and Sean can correct me, but I think the real goal here is widening the sidewalk and beautifying that little area and making it more accessible.
That was, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, to be fair, that existing landscaping doesn't necessarily add, there's no real escape from the sun. The trees are not necessarily the best shade trees, and I I do not believe most are native.
My only question would be with the coral tree, right? It's San Clemente's, the tree of San Clemente,
Yep.
there's only a handful of them left. I think like that one and maybe a handful other. Excuse me, would there be any way to work around it or keep it? Because I think there's only two, right?
We can keep the tree in.
I mean, I'm just,
It's
They're
leaning.
extremely invasive, that's
Yeah,
usually why
it's-
they're removed, because the roots get underneath and
It's
it's
not a
a big
great
problem.
salt air
I was
tree,
gonna
but
say,
it's our
it's
city
only
tree
growing-
and we love it.
it's only growing on one side.
I think you really can, if you look at it, it does lean towards the stairs. And that- so it can stay, and we will continue to maintain it under our tree policy, and we will nurture it as much as we can. And all trees have a lifespan, right? So at some point, it's not going to live forever, but it can stay right where it's at, and we'll continue to maintain it. And that's okay, it doesn't have to be removed.
Okay. So let's hear it from the comments, please. Okay. So next up we have, so thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
Yeah,
I think our city manager has a quick comment.
Perfect.
There, in the rendering you showed, it looks like there was a picture beneath the, on the retaining wall beneath the fence. Is that created out of tile, or is that a paving, or who's going to do that? And is that included in this project?
Is it this photo?
Yes. on
That's
the-
a tile
on the lower
mural.
right.
Yeah, the mosaic, the tile.
It's a new tile mural.
Okay.
So there's two tile murals that kind of flank the stairs on either side. This would be a new tile mural.
And that's included in this budget?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we'll call the city manager, Mr.
Yeah,
Hall.
just real quickly, I think there was a question asked earlier that's difficult for staff to answer. And that is, the thoughts of what was originally Pier Pride is now the Pier Conservancy. That's difficult for staff to answer. We can't speak for them, but I have been in a couple of their meetings, and it has been a goal of theirs, or at least it's their intention, to remove a lot of the landscaping so that there's this clear view of the pier down the pier. And so that has been stated by them. Whether or not they're pushing staff into that, that's not what's important here. It's really important that the Beach Parks and Recreation Commission give us your recommendations so that we can move that forward. One thing I would say is we went out there today, and we do believe that there's an opportunity to do both, right? To keep the coral tree in place, and you still can get a very good view down the pier. And people have different opinions on the existing landscaping in the small, if you go back to the previous slide, the small little lime green area that we're talking about. It's all, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think that I don't know which slide it is, that one, the kind of the lighter green one there, that little area we're talking about. I think most of the planting materials in there are not very nice planting materials. I think they're overgrown shrubs that we've trained to be trees. They're not really trees, they're shrubs that have grown into trees. I think we can do better job landscaping. I think we can make that look nicer, but there's some people that think that looks really nice. So again, that's the real challenge, and that's why we have this group, is to hear everybody's recommendations and then somehow come to a conclusion that you think is best for the community, and we'll forward that on to the city council. So anyway, I only stood up to say it's very difficult for staff to speak for the Conservancy. They're not here tonight, but I went to a meeting, and their intention was, the meeting I went to, they showed some pictures where there was very little landscaping, and the pier was the focal point of standing at that spot, and I think that's their intent. I could be wrong, I'm just giving you what I heard. So.
And just a quick question. So obviously this is a small project of the wider pier bowl, right? And I guess I would just say, as a retiring member of this, moving towards this kind of unified landscaping, there's obviously other areas that are going to get a glow up. It would behoove us to kind of keep that unification of landscaping to maybe the picnic tables or anything that happens elsewhere along the pier bowl.
Yeah, that's a good point. the rest of Parque Del Mar, the landscaping was kept very minimal,
Yeah.
so that the focus was on the ocean, not on the landscaping. If that's what you're saying, I think that was purposeful.
Yeah.
And I had a question as well. I know that the mention of a 2-month work, is this set to be completed before the Olympics?
Oh, I hope to, yeah, we definitely want to complete it this fall or winter. We don't want to kind of get into 27 and 28 and hope that we don't hit. Anytime you're doing something, there's always something in a project you weren't expecting. So we want to get out in front of this, but not during the summer months. It'll probably be after the summer months.
Sorry, just one last thing, point of caution. We are entering one of the stronger El Niños of our recorded history, and I don't know necessarily the drainage issues with it. Well, I know that there are drainage issues with that tunnel, and there's probably going to be a little bit of ocean and storm activity coming our way, so it might not be the best idea to rush it this winter.
Well, that, and that's a good point. We don't really talk about this, just we don't really like engineering, but there it is. But one of the things they're doing is they want to make sure that that whole area drains better too. This gives them an opportunity to look at some additional drainage. That, again, that slope right now, if you look at it, there is some erosion that's happening there, and that's one of the things they want to correct is the very thing you're talking about. Less water down at the tunnel.
Yeah, but it's inevitable.
What about the design review set going forward?
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Thank you. Okay, so let's hear from the speakers. First up, we have Laura Smith.
Okay, hi everybody. I actually wasn't even going to come tonight, but then I read about the removal of the coral tree and even those bushes. And I went down there Sunday, Father's Day, which was a very, very, very busy day. I took the trolley down because that's what I normally do, especially on weekends when you can't find a place to park. And our trolley was capacity plus. There was like standing room only and everybody was squished. I got out. It was fine. I mean, people could still walk by and we got out. And most people actually, honestly, don't go down the stairs. They go over the railroad tracks because that's a larger area and that's where I see the most traffic. I also took the trolley going home, and at that time there were the 2 trolleys. And again, we just waited in a single file line for the red line, which I took, which was usually the most crowded. And there was no problem. So when I got there, I did decide to take some pictures. And my pictures of those bushes look a lot different than his pictures of those bushes. His look almost dead, and mine are very green. And also the coral tree. And my picture, I shared it with a friend, and she ended up posting it on San Clemente Life, and how she was concerned about the removal of our tree. And many people have commented, like she said, on the internet, about their concerns also. One, we are a bird sanctuary. Our birds need the trees to land, the bushes to land, and to nest. And also, that's our iconic look. And I've been thankful that we haven't become the newest Dana Point, where everything now, like at the harbor, they're raising it and they're going to put all these hotels, and everything's just going to be so much more sterile than the Dana Point that we all known if we've lived here any length of time. So if there is a concern about the big, I didn't really look at a drop off, but you could have more dirt, I would think, or else maybe put the railing on the opposite side of the sidewalk. Like here's the sidewalk, maybe put the railing there if you feel that you need a railing. But just to take out things and put this sterile landscaping in, I really don't think that's the way to go. And I know a lot of other people feel the same way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Larry Culbertson.
Good evening, Commissioners. Larry Culbertson, resident. I believe this project is a lot more than just a maintenance project. It's probably of a level of impact that needs input from the Planning Commission, in addition to the input from you. The Planning Commission, along with its Design Review Subcommittee, has expertise and experience in design, construction, engineering, traffic, parking, parklets, pedestrian flow, and other issues that this project will have an effect on. These are outside of just your expertise. You may be aware that this project, the project that was very similar to this one, it was actually this one with the minor modifications, went before the Design Review Subcommittee in July of 2023. The minutes of that meeting include a number of comments that would have been beneficial for you to see as part of your staff report. Those minutes also stated that the project would return to DRSC for further feedback. This project will give the Pier Bowl a significantly different appearance than what it's had for the past 50 or 60 years. It is imperative that the public be aware of the proposed changes and that any issues that could be a problem are thoroughly considered. Public input with agreement and acceptance of the project might not be completely possible, but we need to give everyone a chance to be heard. One specific concern of mine is the loss of shade. On hot days, people waiting for the trolley seek out the few shady spots to get a little comfort. This is there not a way that we could, if we do have to take the coral tree out, is there not a way that we could add shade trees on either side of that big oval, on the right and the left, and still have that opening down through the middle that was one of the stated goals? I was told, and was Samantha said it again tonight, that the coral tree could remain, but the city manager has told us that and it's in your staff report, that the arborist said it has to go. It shouldn't have been put there in the first place. Furthermore, if you do that excavation that they're talking about, that's going to annihilate those roots. It'll kill that tree. We need to have clarification on the fate of that coral tree. So please do consider all of the each and part issues of this project, and then recommend that it go on to Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have Amanda Quintanilla.
So in the last 2 days, I had 2 meetings with Andy Hall, Director Wiley, Brian Bauer, Assistant City Manager, and they agreed to go to the Planning Commission and Design Review Subcommittee. So I don't understand, was that lip service or not? So I feel like it was. Please save the trees and bushes. Next slide, please. St. Company Pier should be cherished, as well as embracing our village by the sea that is a bird sanctuary in a Tree City, USA. Next slide, please. They have, so here today, I was at the sidewalk and 2 birds were right there. They have a voice and they sing to us every day. Please do not cut down their homes. Next slide, please. The view of the pier is visible. There's no point of removing the bushes and trees. Please don't cut down the beautiful, majestic coral tree. And it was today, Director Samantha Wiley said it was going to be saved. We don't have a problem with that. And also the bushes that are adjacent to either walls. Next slide, please. So it does cost $450,000. It is stated at the CIP in the agenda report. It does not mention that. And it says no cost, what that is non-transparent. Also, 25% of the actual cost is from $450,000 would be $125,000 that Pier Pride Foundation would contribute. Next slide, please. I wanted to address this because in the agenda report, it says the project consists of widening the sidewalk with tiles, matching existing grading, installation of railing, and new tile mural. So that is really disingenuous. When you write a staff report, please be very specific, because I would not want to remove this tribute to Dana Ambrose is Susan Ambrose's, Commissioner Ambrose's daughter. Please correct that, because if anybody would have mentioned it or not addressed it, it would have been really disheartening. Next slide, please. I wanted to address Pier Pride because this is a foundation who has made allegations on their webpage saying there's increased traffic on Victoria, which is false. According to the city engineer, he had mentioned to me that there is no traffic data suggesting that. The ADA stalls, you could put the trolley line right now is in the red zone. It could be moved south right by the ADA parking. There it is. There's more space there to do that. There's no need to do all this $450,000 project at all whatsoever. Maintain those bushes there. One of the things that I saw, there's a tree on the right side and someone cut those branches. So some of the branches look brown because they cut them to make them look dark, make them look brown. As far as Pier Pride, they also made an allegation that they wanted to see the end of the pier. There is, you can see the view of the pier. There's no problem with that. And I'm really concerned about a foundation that does not allow the city manager to attend their board meeting or to push out a board member and making an allegation about him, which is false. I really think this needs to go to the Design Review Subcommittee because they need to view it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, so thanks for all the comments, everybody. I'd like to open it up for discussion. Commissioner Haskins.
Yeah, we had a completely separate project. It was about like a little parklet, and all the which bushes and trees were going to be put where, and there was a whole design with sustainability and drainage and all that in mind. Would it be possible to overlay something like that with the sort of like the hardscape that the maintenance folks are doing, so that it meets the needs of the folks that want to retain the coral tree, make sure it's a place that birds can still nest and all those things. I mean, is it possible to push it to the point where those folks could take a look at it too? I can't remember exactly who did it, but they did a really nice job. And,
It was the water, are you referring to Pocket Park with the water conservation grant?
Right.
And they were,
so to make it like a combination of, yes, new sidewalk, because you're lucky if you're on a day where you can get by. I've been on days when it's really impacted, and but if we could also take the care that we took with that little parklet, and make it almost like a parklet too, then I would be totally supportive of it. I'm supportive of the project. It looks like a well thought out, well designed project, but I think that you could sort of overlay it to enhance that area without sticking to, it's got to stay exactly like it is now, to maintain some elements that would the public wants, and to enhance it aside from just the increased surface area for the sidewalk.
I agree with the need for more greenery. I thought it looked a little sterile in the rendering. I think that the landscaping is one of the things that really makes the water pop, because you have the greenery and the blue of the water, and it does look beautiful. I was a little confused about the reference to the arborist saying that the coral tree needed to be removed. Does it need to be removed because it's near the end of its lifespan? Is there a structural issue with the fact that it doesn't have a canopy on the one side? Is there a reason,
It's leaning eastwardly, and we had to remove a limb about 4 weeks ago or so because it was hanging over the stairs, and we were getting a lot of bird droppings onto the stairs, which was creating a whole other concern. Is it in grave danger today? No, as far as we can tell. But it is, a coral tree shouldn't lean so much one way. It should be a little bit more centered, but it can stay, and that's fine, and we will maintain it as long as it's healthy enough.
I know that it leans, I only say this because my husband's an arborist.
Yeah.
That just trimmed it. That it leans because of the spray from the ocean. And they are brittle trees, so ultimately, yes, they are going to need to be removed. That's why we only have a few of them. It's like the eucalyptus. Like, yes, they're beautiful. Yes, it is the San Clemente tree. I'd love to keep it. I know it's going to have to go someday.
I feel like it's the sunk cost fallacy, right? Like, we have something because it was not designed necessarily for the native landscape. And you can keep that tree with the known lifespan that it's going to go, while incorporating newer type of shrubbery or chaparral that can grow to produce shade. Toy on any sort of like larger bush tree, strawberry tree,
Right.
beautiful tree.
Yeah.
Those types of things can be incorporated for a longer term view while keeping the invasive coral tree aesthetic for the time being.
Unrelated, is this something, and it was brought up by speakers, is this something that needs to go to the planning commission as well? Or how does that, what's that relationship there?
It certainly could. You can go back to DRC, and that's not an issue. We can go back to DRC.
So they've seen it?
They saw it several years ago, but it was a different iteration.
Okay.
It was quite larger in scope and scale.
Okay.
This is based on that DRC feedback, was very much narrowed down and focused into the area that you're seeing today. But staff can certainly take it back to DRC, and it can go from there, or DRC.
Minor question for staff on the artwork. Who decides what the artwork is? Does that go through the Arts and Cultural Committee, or?
So that piece likely will. We're still working out some of the details, but there is a public art policy. The policy includes Arts and Culture Committee review. The Pure Conservancy is supporting the public art elements in that area, and so they would also be participating in that process.
My only concern about taking it back to the planning commission is how long is that going to take? Will it delay the project at all, to start in the fall? And there's also a new planning, the teams are changing over. There may be some conflict of interest on there too, on the planning commission, just saying, but I feel like if the scope has been scaled down, and they've already seen it, maybe there could be a review of it one more time, but I don't know that it needs to be a full-on 100%, let's go through it starting from the beginning kind of thing.
I'd love for them to review it one more time. I feel like that is their wheelhouse as much as it is.
Yeah, as long as they don't drag it out for a year or two, right? Because it needs to be done.
Sure, I'm not certain on their meeting schedule, but we will absolutely continue the path forward to make sure it's a timely project as well.
Not gonna do what you don't do, just go for it.
Does this
Because we
receive
do have
design from a landscape architect? Because it seems like most of the comments, it did.
It did.
It did.
Yeah, this is a part of Summers and Murphy's design, and Pat Murphy's done a lot of our work. He's been a great landscape architect partner for a lot of our different public projects.
So just to clarify here, so initially a larger project was proposed and it went before the planning commission.
It went before DRC, Design Review Subcommittee, which is a different body.
So they provided their feedback, and then
Yes.
this rendering is kind of based on their feedback, is that correct?
Yes, over the course of what is now almost 3 years, I think, or 2 years.
So-
I'd like for it to go back just one more final time. If they haven't looked at it 3 years, like to your point, there has probably been turnover in the past 3 years since the people who looked at. I'm assuming that is.
Like, what is the consequence of it getting delayed? Like I mentioned previously, right? Or it taking a little bit longer?
Well, the ultimate goal is really the Olympics and the Centennial, right? That's 2028.
2028.
It would be stupendous to have it done in the fall and up and rolling, but we want to make sure it's done correctly, and we want to make sure that everybody has had their opportunity to provide feedback. And I think, and the city manager might say it better, but I think this is part of that public process. So it would be terrible to spend all of this money on a project that then gets really negative feedback because we didn't flush everything out. So
Yeah, and I think that's the utility of that area, right? If people want shade. Well, people are attached to the current landscaping because they don't know anything. We don't know what a native landscape looks like in that area.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'd agree that I think we should push it back to the design review subcommittee with an eye for them looking more at the landscape element of it, and then bring it back to us, and I think we'd be able to make a decision.
Yes, and with that, could we get side-by-side renderings? Like the renderings in the presentation really helped me visualize.
Yes.
I'm not an engineer, so I was really trying. I really did look at the topographic maps that were sent to me, and I really did try.
Yeah, I had to have my husband look. I'm like, what am I looking at?
Yes, I'm in data.
Without a
If I put the
rendering.
spreadsheet, I think I would have done fine. But all joking aside, I really am trying to conceptualize what is now and what could be proposed with an eye for landscaping, and maybe if there could be two different versions, one with the coral tree and one without.
I mean, just leave it, build around it.
Yeah, you can leave it. So I think
It's gonna come
tonight,
down eventually.
for the sake of moving this project forward, and the commission can do what you want, but I might recommend you give some final feedback, whether it's keep the coral tree, rethink some of the landscaping based on DRSC feedback, and if there's any other elements, if trees or shade is important, give some of that guidance, and not saying we can commit to that, but we certainly can take the guidance and recommendations into consideration as it goes forward.
Does that need to be a motion?
I would think that'd be helpful.
Okay. All right. Anyone?
Sorry, Commissioner Grace, do you have any other comments? Or Delegowski?
No.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I make a motion to, send this back to the design review committee with the intent of focusing on different aspects of landscape, whether that's keeping the coral tree, removing it, focusing on shade, and provide renderings for further review.
Maybe make it more specific
And make
motion
it-
to keep the coral tree for the time being.
I
Right?
want to see both.
Okay.
See both.
Without the coral tree, you
With
mean?
and without,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Do you want to make a friendly amendment?
With the intention to keep it, but what it would also look like without provide renderings for review.
But I think the commonality between the two options would be to maintain some sort of shade and or, like some sort of tree option. I don't know how else to say. So the birds
Is
at
that
home,
what
we have shade.
Shade is important.
Shade is important.
Shade is important.
And
Nobody
that's
wants to
the
stand out there.
And bird homes are important.
I mean, but like the birds are gonna find homes anywhere. Like honestly.
Alright,
So that's a motion by
that's a motion by me.
Sorry.
Garcia.
Sorry.
Does anybody need that repeated? Because I wrote it down.
You did.
Okay.
Yes.
Seconded.
If you can repeat it.
Okay, so the motion and the second by Commissioner Schmidt was to send the item back to the design review subcommittee with a focus on landscaping and improving shade or looking at expanded shade and understanding what the space looks like with a coral tree and without a coral tree, with the preference to keeping it.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Yes, you have a
Okay.
second by Commissioner.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain or no?
No.
Okay, so no for Commissioner Grace, and Commissioner Johnson will abstain. So, it looks like it passes 5-2.
Two.
5-1-1.
Oh, 5-1.
Thank you.
Okay. So next up, we have North Beach Survey.
Okay, good evening, Commissioners. I'm Samantha Wiley, Beaches Parks and Recreation Director. This evening, we are looking at a survey results that was direction from the City Council. Staff conducted a public survey to gather community input regarding future potential uses at the city-owned vacant lot on North El Camino Real. This is the lot in between the Beach Hut Deli and what is the Old Landers building as well. I want to note that council really was hoping to draw community feedback and was encouraging creativity. So there was there's an open-ended survey that was released. You have the results in the staff report. There were some focused options for the public to look at, to consider, but we also had write-in options. The survey was open at the end of last year, and we had 483 responses, which is a pretty decent result, and 96% of those identify themselves as San Clemente residents. I think one of this lot, if you're familiar with it, it's been used for events in the past. There's been a lot of conversation about what it could be. It could be a parking lot, it could be an event area, it could be pop-up events. It's been a farmer's market. But one of the strongest themes that we saw emerge out of the survey was the desire to bring people together and really support activating North Beach. I do want to note that the survey was done prior to the opening of the Miramar Food Hall, so we are, I think, all seeing a really incredible surge of community and gathering in that area just from that alone. So this would be in addition to that at this point. When asked to rank priorities, our respondents placed recreation opportunities, community connection, and the enhancement of the North Beach area above any parking and traffic improvements at the time the survey was taken. So again, the survey results are included in the staff report, and there's some general summaries. I think what we're looking for this evening is what kind of feedback would you recommend to the council based on this? And the council asked this to come back to the Parks and Rec Commission. So knowing that, you could provide a recommendation to council that includes, these are the top 3 priorities, this is the number 1 thing. It's kind of the commission's discretion to carve the path forward to recommendation.
Okay, great.
Could you just share our ideas?
Let's just go down the row.
Okay, well, we have a public comment.
Yeah, sorry, public comment first.
Okay.
So excited.
So we're gonna have the public comment. Ms. Amanda Quintanilla, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it. When this survey came out, it was a concern of mine because it said the sky's the limit. Well, the sky is not the limit there because there is a drain there. Originally, this parcel of land, there was Ernesto's restaurant there and a hotel. And because of the storm of 1993, the Prima Secha MOU1, I think it was, or MO1, drain basically flooded and basically took out the Ernesto's and also the hotel. So as a result, under Resolution 94-55, the only thing that could be built was a parking lot, but however, I think it was last year, the city council said that they could do a little bit more, and that's why the survey came out. However, my opposition was, and I sent an email to the city manager and also Director Wiley, that the sky is not the limit because there's limitations of what can be done on that property because of the drain. However, at one of the meetings on Monday with the city manager, it was conveyed that maybe parking is a concern there, especially with the food hall and the Miramar opening. And this is something that I presented for years. Bonnie and Tom Barnes and the late Ricardo Nickel, who was an architect here in San Clemente, and his wife was a teacher's assistant, Mrs. Nickel, she's fantastic. So they proposed these plans for a parking lot at North Beach. And so every year we've been proposing that. I've been proposing this for a couple of years now. But the California Coastal Commission approved or preferred those plans versus the city's plans. But I think now with with more electric e-bikes, Basically, I think, that could go back to the drawing board and put more bike racks to suit these heavy e-bikes. I think it's really important to have parking. It's just one story, it's just a single story, and I think that could be done. I think that would be simple to do. And I really appreciate your time, and so I think it's, with the new food hall, it really brings a lot of people there and a lot of tourism, and I think it's, it's a positive move in the right direction. But thank you so much, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll open it up for discussion. Commissioner Grace, any comments or questions?
So, when I was reading this survey, there was like Samantha said, there was a strong desire for some community something there. My concerns on that lot is it's so close to the street. If there's a park or some people sitting there, there would have to be some kind of a wall or something to protect the people from El Camino Real. A park would be pretty, but I just think the safety issue would be rough. Secondly, over the weekend, I don't know if you guys went down there, but there were 2 weddings and the food hall going on at the same time. There was absolutely no parking down there. There were e-bikes everywhere. E-bikes were on the casino grass. E-bikes were on the red curbs, blocking for emergency vehicles. It was chaos down there for parking. I don't want to, I don't want to pay paradise, right? But I do think that maybe that part, or at least part of that space, could be utilized for some bike racks, maybe similar to something we did at the base of the pier, although those racks aren't really great for e-bikes. They're just not wide enough, but something that might beautify that little area, but also be useful because there were so many bikes down there. It was crazy. But I do like that it would be something community oriented. If we do put the hotel across the street, that's another thing to look at. What could that space be utilized for? What are the hotel people going to see? I just think that I worry more if you put a park or something, or even a gathering where people have a little concert, that just too close to El Camino Real without putting some kind of a wall or some kind of a safety thing on it. So those are just my thoughts on it.
You and I are on the same wavelength. I like the idea of a multifunctional space, like if we had a North Beach Plaza, a flex space. Last year, a car did cross that barrier and crash into that lot, and it went into the lot. And so I had the same thought. I know people love their dogs. I don't think that's a safe place for a dog park at all. I don't think it's a safe place for people to be running around. I did think that many people made a very strong point about the fact that this is sort of an entrance way into a large part of our downtown area. And if there was some sort of a welcome to San Clemente, North Beach or something, some sort of a tile, Spanish-style wall or something that could serve as protection for that space, but also a welcoming opening. And then if there was some sort of multifunctional community space with, some, e-bike parking that's tucked away and hidden, and then grassy areas with tables so that you can get your food from the food hall and go out there, and we could have live music. People could rent it out. We could have brewery functions, again, without people stumbling into the street. But I think that there's a lot of options to have. I liked the idea of a little splash pad. I don't know how, maybe the drain's already there, but but again, I wouldn't want my kids just running around. I would want it very protected from that street area. I also don't know what could fit in such a small space, so whatever we could do to maximize that location while creating the boundary, having some parking.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, I would just echo that the flex space is going to be the most flexible. It's also, as Commissioner Gray mentioned, it's in a flood zone. It's going to flood. It doesn't necessarily need to be a structure. I think more along the lines of, and this is something I'm kind of curious about, is how much money the city has saved by being able to use that space as materials loading and things like that, right? And just kind of an emergency space, but setting up a essentially what you I'm sorry. Setting that up as a flex space that you're able to rent, right? Or you're able to have your picnic tables at. And then you're able to also utilize in an emergency if you need materials down there, or if you need some sort of place to store things, right? Is going to be the most useful. I'll leave it at that.
I agree. I think if they do further sand replenishment activities in that area, that's a great equipment laydown area that is really close. So I think it could have multiple uses in the future. But in the meanwhile, people I think would like to have a place. It definitely would need more parking in that area. I also drove through there and it was crazy. There was just like every available place, and even the ones that weren't legal were all taken with cars. So and it seemed like there wasn't even enough place for people to sit down and eat their food once they got it. So
you do have the outlets, right?
You do have the outlets. So I have a question, is has a study been done to see how many parking spots could actually go there?
And like right now, it's limited parking.
Yeah, within the lot that really.
Within that lot.
There is a rendering, I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Like, I can't imagine that it's a groundbreaking difference.
Yes.
But so that was my question. The second part was when I was going through the results, the thing that I immediately thought of was, what's the courtyard at the community center that was just redone?
Yes, that was an old shuffleboard court.
Right, so, but it like became an event space. That's where you had tacos and utensils or tacos, whatever that was, so put on the goods. Something like that to where it is low maintenance, you do have a wall. It can say like, welcome to San Clemente or whatever. And then it's just the old handsome tile. You can throw some tables on there, whatever. It can be a gathering space. You can rent it out. You can close it up. You can have like farmers markets, but something simple so that it can be multi-use. And then maybe you put some e-biking parking on the other side of it. On not the street facing side, but the parking lot facing side. So that was my immediate I don't know if it would be low cost. I don't know if anything is funded for this thus far.
We don't have funding right now.
Right.
It's just
an idea. Just a nice
ideas
thought.
out there. We have to start the
Nice
conversation.
thoughts.
Yeah.
But that was what I would suggest. I definitely don't think it needs to be a park. I don't think it needs to be something with a lot of whatever, but enclosed and multi-use. It's kind of.
Commissioner Haskins, do you have any comments? Okay, great. So I have some comments here. I think we need to use this space for the highest utility and what will give our residents the biggest return. I think I agree with the survey that a community event venue that includes concerts, movies, art fairs, any festivals. I think what we need to do here is focus on what could also benefit our residents, but also bring in additional tax revenue, right? Like that's prime real estate. So I think, so there's been some comments about parking, and I agree that's very important. I think parking can be established like in the Surf Ghetto and the Los Molinos district. Possibly parking could be encouraged at the outlets, and they could take the trolley down. So I think attracting people to this for like say festivals or like a beer festival or a concert, it will encourage people to afterwards to support our local businesses like our shops and our restaurants.
And if it's enclosed, it's easier to get a permit, right?
Yeah. Now also too, there is a fence there right now. I just wouldn't want like a big fence that would like block the view of the ocean. That's just my comment. I really like the idea of a seasonal ice rink or roller rink in addition. So if we could get an ice rink during the winter, like right on the ocean, I think that would really, really benefit our residents, you know, give them jobs and give families things to do. So these are my comments, that it should be something that they will benefit the residents and also, you know, give us some sales tax revenue, right, for beers, permit fees for music festivals and.
Are you saying like a building, an enclosed building with sides and a roof and everything?
So
I'm just
I'm
saying
thinking more,
enclosed.
so it could maybe be developed in a way that, I mean, I would an amphitheater, not a big amphitheater, but, you know.
I think you would just have a flat stage, right? It would be
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
a slight raised stage
Yeah.
with electricity.
I mean, it could be like a, you know, like a nature-based outdoor development that's not like really big or anything, but, you know, a place where people can congregate for festivals or concerts, something like that.
Yeah, something that you can rent out, right? And so, was that where they used to have the Christmas tree lot?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
I used to work at that lot.
They used to do food truck night also.
Yeah, food truck night, like
And
things
they
like
farmers market. They did a farmers market.
things like that are community, like net benefit to the community. And whether you make it like the old shuffleboard or whatever that was, which is more of your traditional walled, it looks like the outside of a mission, versus I think what Commissioner Johnson is talking about, which is more just like a softer border with the raised stage and picnic tables and things like that. Kind of like what's the River Street? It's not the San Juan River Street Ranch or whatever that is, but there's the park right there.
Los Rios district.
The Los Rios district, there's the park with, it's essentially a thoroughfare, but they have like their,
The big vegetation.
well, no, they have like their little community events there too.
Yes, 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 yes.
Right, and the Candlelight Symphony
Right.
and things like that
Yeah.
you're able to have.
Yeah, so maybe we could create an environment where the city could maybe do some sort of minor development, keep it still nature-based outdoor, where the city can rent it out for concerts, for, you know, food festivals, music festivals, and stuff like that. Where they could sell food, you know, pop-up beer stations and stuff like that, and create some revenue for the city.
What is that lot currently zoned for? Because we have lovely ideas, but if it's not zoned for any of this, then.
What is a park zone, like, or what is like a open space zone?
Open space is
So,
probably part of it.
Yeah, versus like.
I'd have to look, but do keep in mind that council wanted no boundaries right now.
Okay.
So I think, so we all made our comments.
Yeah.
Director Wiley wrote down the notes, so can we just ask that you pass that on to the city council?
Absolutely.
Is that okay with everyone?
Is there any motion that
Do we
needs
need
to?
a motion for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, a
Okay.
motion just to pass along the comments.
If
I
we're
just have
talking
one
about
more
like what
comment
you're
or-
proposing, that would be just pave it and then.
I don't think it would be
So it would be like,
You know,
I really
like-
want to emphasize nature-based and outdoor, not some massive development, but some development that could encourage, you know, like pop-up beer stands.
Would that be leaving it as dirt? Would that be?
Well, no,
So
so I
I
think it would be ADA compliant, right?
Yeah.
Maybe like grass
And
and
then
dirt,
DG.
and dirt path or something, like, you know?
Yeah.
See, and I just was thinking along the lines of the shuffleboard, do the Ole Hansen tile, right? So it's Ole Hansen Beach Club, the casino, the Miramar, and then you've got whatever this lovely lot is gonna be, all with some sort of border. You could do, because it's such a fair point with the safety concern. So if you did some sort of like white, you know, the white plaster wall with a red tile along the top, and then welcome to San Clemente, and then you did a coral tree, I don't know, like something along it so that it looked native. I know.
Native trees.
You do native things along, not
Yeah.
but along it to make it bring in that vegetation aspect.
Yeah, so to answer Commissioner Grace's point, and I think this is just the very preliminary stage.
Yeah.
So I think we just kind of should give them an idea, and it seems like we all want like community events,
A flex space.
Yes.
flex space, something
Yes,
like that.
nothing
and,
permanent
and then it'll come back to us and to.
and open.
Yeah, and I agree that that's totally fine as long as it's safe, but and I also think if it's not that space, we just need to address the e-bike problem. They're not gonna take their e-bikes to the outlet and then ride the.
No, we need
So
we
the
need
e-bikes
parking.
are a
Yeah.
problem.
And even if
So,
you just
but,
narrow
so also,
it.
yeah, if we could add that we could have parking for e-bikes
Yeah,
to encourage.
I also really, this is not related at all and not even in the purview, but the comment about the mattress store being a great two-story parking structure is genius. And I know that we don't own that mattress store, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying
Okay.
that's so much parking.
I had one question. So
Yeah.
what happened there when they had the flood a couple of years ago? Were there actually structures that were damaged?
A
or-
long time ago, 93.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
30 years
So there's
ago.
really no reason to put a structure there unless it was something that could, you know, if it's flooded again, it's not gonna cost.
Don't build up, yeah, just
That
put
was
a floor and a
80s,
wall
yeah.
and,
Right. really
and
is-
hopefully native vegetation that will grow very nice roots and hold some of that dirt in place if when we get the zoning up.
I mean, yeah, you're not gonna, so just as a point of reference for everybody, the Sea Summit development on that Pico corridor, they did create retention ponds, right? For runoff, and so that will help it, and if this hotel goes in, or when the hotel, I don't know if it's been fully approved yet, but they're gonna have to bend over backwards
Coastal Commission.
to prove that they are not going to cause worse flooding. So I think, like, you definitely don't wanna put a food hall type structure in that lot, but if you were to have a mixed commercial residential where the first floor is a parking structure that could get water, it wouldn't be the worst. But I think to our point of discussion, the open space, flex space is the way to go.
Okay.
So Samantha, how urgent is it to get it back to the council? I'm getting the sense that we have a lot of good ideas, but they're a little bit nebulous and haven't really been well-defined so that we can give
I don't think anybody.
a concrete recommendation
Do they need
to the
like a,
council.
I don't know that they need to be well-defined. I appreciate what you're saying. What I'm hearing is that, if I'm going to summarize in themes, it's important that there is flexible community space. The commission's concerned about safety alongside El Camino Real, so if you're going to encourage gathering, it's important to fortify the space, if you will, whether that's with a wall of some height, but also reflect Spanish tiles, and the white stucco is also very important, but not necessarily a permanent building, but a wall for safety is important. And the idea of flexible outdoor space. We don't want a roof, we don't want any of that. Keep it as native looking as possible. And then some level of seasonal programming, whether that's an ice rink or markets and pop-ups.
Okay.
That's what I'm hearing thematically.
I'm good with that if you can summarize for us.
Okay, Debbie, put that and just copy and paste it.
Debbie will listen back. Okay.
Isn't that what AI is for now? Can't Debbie just say like, summarize this, please?
All right, we need a motion.
Okay, so I would like to make the motion to forward Director Wiley's notes to the city council. Do I have a second?
Based on your comments.
Yeah, based on our comments, yeah.
I'll say.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Grace, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain or no? Okay, it passes unanimously, thank you. Wow, this is gonna be a great project for the city.
Yep.
Okay, real quickly, I just want to thank everyone who, this is your last meeting.
Yes.
You guys down there, you've made an impact. It's been wonderful working with you, 2 years, 1 year. And we appreciate you. We've got a great synergy up here and you will be missed.
Well,
Yes.
Thank you all.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us. Sorry that
okay.
kind of fell off.
Okay, great, yes, thank you very much for your service. And so we're going to adjourn to the regular meeting of the Beaches Park and Recreation Commission on August 11th, 2026 at 6 p.m. at City Hall Council Chambers located at 910 Calle Negocio, San Clemente, 92673.
Awesome.